Good morning, everybody. It's Andy speaking. It's the 10th of July. I'm now at my 46th week without alcohol. So, as I always say, I'm pleased about that. Pleased that I've reached this 46-week milestone. Not too much has happened over the last couple of weeks since I last did a video. Except to say that I had a very enjoyable evening with my colleagues who, in the main, I haven't really seen for the last 2 years because of COVID and COVID work restrictions. So we were fortunate to meet up. All of us, bar one, came and we met in a bar, as you probably would expect. And the idea was that we would have some drinks and some food and just a good time, and that's actually what happened. Most of my colleagues, not all of them, but most of my colleagues had a let's just say a good drink, some more than others. I stuck to non-alcoholic beer all night. Interestingly, the place I went to had a particular brand of lager that I like, non-alcoholic lager, called Lucky Saint. You can buy it in bottles. It's basically I think a British guy came up with the recipe, but I think it's actually brewed in Bavaria. It may be anyway. And I've this particular bar, they had it on tap. Unfortunately, it wasn't on tap because they didn't have any. But I always call it out because for me, I think it's a really good. It's probably the closest I've come for a non-alcoholic beer to an alcoholic beer, if I can word it like that. So luckily they had some other choices as well, and actually they had the normal sort of your Heinekens and Peronis, but they had some BrewDog and non-alcoholic. They also had a brewery from Ipswich, I think it's called Drop Brewery or something like that, and they do a selection of different styles of non-alcoholic beers, and they are really, really nice. So I had a few of them, which for me was good. So there's a little recommendation called Pressure Drop Brewery, and yeah, their stuff is really good. But what was interesting for me really during the evening was seeing a group of people that in the main were all drinking, and how the evening changed. It didn't change negatively, by the way. It changed and got louder and more laughter and more silliness, and nobody got to the point where they were, falling over or throwing up or anything like that. It just, you could, as somebody that wasn't drinking, you could see the sort of slight change, and I guess that really hasn't happened to me for a long time because I've always been on the other side of the table drinking as much as those people. But it was an interesting evening just watching them. I would say that I reckon about between 3 and 5 pints. Most people don't change an awful lot, but after that you do definitely notice changes, and I still had a lovely evening, still thoroughly enjoyed it. I think all of my colleagues did. But for me, it was a non-alcoholic evening because I'm determined that I will get to the 52 weeks rather, which is only a few weeks away. And I think at that time, I'll probably do a video about what I feel I've learned and what I've experienced. And I guess the pros and cons as I see it for having this reset. But outside of that, I've had no other social engagements. I found myself having a few non-alcoholic beers at home. Most non-alcoholic beers come in small cans, so I find myself having 3 or 4 of them in the evening, and I'm thinking, well, really, do I need them? Sometimes they can have quite a lot of sugar in them, so I guess that's as part of the brewing process. And I'm thinking, well, do I really need it? Could I really be better just with fizzy water or nothing? So maybe there's improvements I need to make. I know there's further improvements I need to make to my exercise regime. Obviously, it's not related directly to not drinking, but to help me get a bit physically stronger and build some muscle, continue maybe to lose some additional weight. Although if I put muscle on, I probably won't. But just tone up a bit is what I'm looking to do. But overall things for me continue as is. Interestingly, just going back to the event I went to with my colleagues, I was, a couple of them didn't know I didn't drink, and they were sort of, saying what it's like and well done and things, positive things, not negative things. And one of them said, "Well, could you not have a drink?" And I said, "Look, I could easily sit here and have 5 or 6 pints with you easily. I know I could, but I just choose not to. I'm not so. I don't feel as though I have to. I don't feel I have to feel comfortable in myself, in the environment. I don't feel I have to satisfy anything. And I think that is a bit of a shift for me. And I think it's only really come. It's come since I obviously stopped drinking. But I think the more more social events I've been to, that just has slowly got more and more reinforced. So to me, today it's not a challenge at all. I mean, to give you another example, I've got my parents' 60th wedding anniversary coming up next week, and it's got 2 parts to it. The first part is we're going with my parents down to London, where we're going to go to a very nice restaurant and have a meal, and I'm sure there'll be some alcohol flowing. There's only 4 of us going, and I'm thinking, would I have a drink? And I'm thinking, I possibly will have a glass of wine, but I won't have any more than that. I don't even know if I'll have that. I don't know. And then on the Saturday, there's a wider sort of do. Where definitely alcohol will be flowing. And again, I'm tempted just to have a glass of sparkling wine. The challenge, as I've said many times, is can I stop there, or am I going to get drawn very quickly back into my old habits? My feeling is I won't, but I'm still nervous about it. But at some stage that's going to get tested. I think if I was going to have a drink, this probably is a good time to do it, because it is a very important celebration for my parents. It doesn't mean I've got to go over the top, just have half a glass and that's it, or even a whole glass, and just leave it like that and then have nothing else. So I'm looking forward to that event anyway. But any future events in terms of alcohol, I mean, I was meant to be going out on a picnic with some friends and their parents and wider family, which we've done a few times, and usually there's plenty of alcohol flowing. I would have gone along with my non-alcoholic beers, and I know I would have enjoyed myself as much as drinking. It's different, but it isn't any less enjoyable. And but these are the sorts of things I've experienced since I stopped drinking, and continue to experience, and hopefully will continue to experience for the rest of my life. Because that's where I see this going ultimately. Is I don't believe I'll go back to where I was before, of regular, consistent, daily drinking at levels that I think are not healthy. But I think I will have a drink when it's appropriate, and treat alcohol a bit like anything that arguably is bad for you. You could say, you could say cake is bad for you. But it's delicious, and I think if it's treated with respect and in moderation, I think it's probably not a bad thing. But it has to. Certainly with alcohol, I think as soon as it became for me too much of a habit, I'll call it that. I think I was probably addicted to alcohol. And therefore I needed that reset, which I did, and I'm glad I did. I think I'm in a better place now. Anyway, I'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll be able to see. I'll give you an update. I'll be whatever it is, nearly 2 weeks closer to that magical year, which I'm looking forward to. In the meantime, maybe put the drink down. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.